be able to get through this all. Like I said, hopefully the wind's going to at least keep down for the time being. I know it's going to, or at least expecting to pick up later on. Like I say, this isn't the last of the snow that we are expecting. Oh, but it is an amazing morning today. And I'll tell you what, there's no greater feeling in the world than being like the first one walking through fresh snow. There's quite like no other feeling about it really, but it is absolutely amazing just to walk through fresh snow. But good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning everyone. How are you all today? I hope you're doing well. If you're in the UK, if you're like me and you're in the sort of yellow snow area, hope you're doing all right. Ben, good morning to you. And who else was that? Helen, good morning to you as well. Like I say, we've had a lot of snow. So I'm out here going to make the most of it. Oop. Yeah, there we go. But no, it's indeed a very, very cold. Oops, daisy. It is indeed a very, very cold morning. There we go. Crowban, good morning to you. The Fallen Cure, good morning. A bit nippy, it is. It's, I think, 0 degrees at the moment. Paul, yeah, Christmas cards, yeah. Christmas cards at the ready. Hang on. There we go. This gate just gets more and more difficult to open and close. The more awkward it gets. Oh, but yes, good morning, good morning, good morning to you all. Welcome to this wonderful Friday morning walk in absolutely, currently at the moment, very nice conditions. However, I think we're expecting these to change probably within the next hour or so. Joe, good morning to you from Dublin. Good morning. So, you can tell it's still, I'm surprised that it's still muddy under here. Oop, Crowban, good morning to you. But yes, I can still feel it. It's a bit slippy underfoot, but never mind, we shall trudge on, as they say. Oh, Ben, welcome to the Pony Club. Nick, good morning to you. Indeed, lovely crunchy snow, exactly. That's my thoughts exactly when I was out here. Oops, a daisy. Gotta be really careful now getting over this point because it's a bit slippy. There we go. But oh, we made it. We're onto the field. I think I said this just as a start, there's nothing quite like fresh powder. So you've rejoined, excellent. Well, welcome to the club as always. Yeah, there's something I want to really talk about, to be honest, today, and it does fit in very much so with the topic I think everyone's talking about, and that was, of course, small boats. It's on everyone's lips at the moment. Now, ultimately, what Sunak and I think the Conservatives are going to propose is just a complete non-starter. Yvette Cooper, the Labour Shadow Home Secretary, pointed it out very clearly just a few days ago. What they have essentially presented is almost word for word the exact same proposal that Priti Patel had put out. So it's kind of weird that they would put out essentially the exact same thing, just with a different slogan of "Stop the boats." I mean, it's very, very much, classic propaganda. You come out with a very, very simple slogan, and you just keep on repeating it again and again. Exactly what we saw at the referendum of, it's all about sovereignty, it's all about taking back control. Well, like I say, that didn't really work out the referendum, and it's not really going to work out now. You're saying you're going to stop the boats, because ultimately, we've just talked about this, before. If they were serious, if they were actually deadly serious about, stopping the boats. Oh, Catho G, good morning to you. If they were actually deadly serious about this, and they generally really wanted, some ponies in the trees for you there. I'm surprised they're still out, to be honest. Pretty Bird, greetings to you. So if they were deadly serious about this, as we talked about before, there's two ways you can really solve the current problem. And that's one, you would set up safe routes. And we know that safe routes work and that the government can do them, because not only were they doing them, but for Ukrainians it has worked out very well. But there's absolutely nothing like that for anyone else at all. And yet it would completely nullify the need for people to then use these small boats. And then you've got the problem of, well, the Conservatives have just completely underfunded the actual, physical asylum system. Because we've talked before about how, they completely underfunded the court system as well. Well, that goes sort of hand in hand. If you haven't got these, systems funded and functioning, not only can you not, dispense justice as courts are meant to do, but then you can't process people's asylum applications. You can't get them moving through the system. Any sign of election this year? Not at the moment. But we'll get to a new theory potentially, Tilly. We'll get to a new potential theory that I've got, because I think if that happens, we might get one. So you've got this situation, and it's going to fail. Because the bill sort of gets its first reading on Monday, so we're probably going to see a lot more detail, and certainly we're going to get to scrutinise more of what is in this bill, or at least the ideas that they're proposing in this bill, certainly a lot more on Monday when this is released But to be honest, I'm not expecting a lot. Suella Braverman is desperately trying to avoid being seen as a failure, because this exact same thing happened to Priti Patel, if you may remember. She was like, oh my God, I'm going to stop these boats. Oh, I'm going to stop them. I'm going to bring in these laws. Oh, it's going to stop them. It's going to be perfect. And yet, that's not what happened. Because as we said back then at the time, the harder right you go, the more desperate you make these people, the more they will use other means. The more they will rely on these people smugglers. And Priti Patel is pretty much seen as a failure of a Home Secretary because she failed to keep these under control. And the exact same thing is now slowly starting to happen to Suella Braverman, because she's at the exact stage that Priti Patel was, where everyone was like, oh my God, small boats, small boats, small boats. And now we're at the new law stage, just as Priti Patel was, which again didn't work. And even worse, this gets into my what I think Sunak is being sort of forced into on this. Because in the bill so far, we know that there is a reference saying that, oh yeah, we think this might be illegal. Yeah, we're still going to do this, but yeah, we think it might be illegal. I mean, what state is our government in to just go, oh yeah, it's illegal? And even Braverman, I think, has been frustrated, because you've had all these civil servants trying to tell her, or at least explain to her, hey, if you do this, it will probably get taken to court and we will probably lose. So this is going to be one of those things where certainly well, the government's going to get taken to court. And essentially what's going to happen is, not only is the European Court of Justice going to get involved, because we're in, violation of, European Convention of Human Rights, because we're detaining people without trial. That's one. And then we're also in violation of the UN Refugee Charter. So, yeah, well, that's how we define illegal. So, at that moment, we are in a situation where we potentially become an international pariah. And as a lot of the people have been saying, at this moment in time, where we're trying to sort of unite and punish Russia for its illegal invasion of Ukraine, we're out here, essentially breaking the same laws, and it makes our whole rules-based system look absolutely ridiculous. But this is where it starts to get bad, because I think Sunak knows this, or at least, shall we say, the right wing of his party knows this, and this is what they're aiming for. I think you're going to potentially see at the next general election, in a sheer act of desperation, just as David Cameron was caught in his own sheer act of desperation as well, to say, please stop talking about Europe. Rishi Sunak is going to be in a very similar situation where he goes for please, stop talking about the European Convention on Human Rights. Please stop talking about them. And unfortunately, what could happen what might happen is that you will probably start to hear, and I wouldn't be surprised if you start to hear it in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe even next week. Colin, greetings to you. Welcome to a lovely snow day we have here. But I think what we will start hearing from the Tory right wing, I think especially probably within the next week or so, is we will probably start to hear words like referendum thrown around again. It would not shock me if they start demanding that. Yeah, Canada Lights. It would not surprise me if we start to see that thrown around again. The word referendum. Let's have a referendum on our membership of the European Convention of Human Rights. Yeah, exactly, Cathal. That's exactly the plan. We'll have this referendum, and instead we'll have our own UK Bill of Rights, which will be like, 100 times better than the European one. And of course, as you rightly pointed out, there'll just be a few troubling bits missing. But that is what the right wing has planned, I think. They want to go and have another referendum. Because I think if you were to have another referendum on it, the British public, just like our EU membership, doesn't really understand the process, doesn't understand why we are in it to begin with. Good grief, no, exactly. Exactly. The British public just does not understand why it's there. Just like push this narrative that the EU was just this terrible thing that we were part of, and only if we weren't part of it we would be this incredible trading nation, and it would be unbelievable. We'd be globe-trotting around the world, doing all these fantastic things, and it would be amazing. But we're just part of the EU. Woe is us. Oh no, Barnsley Triangle. Well, we are closing in on the Barnsley Triangle. Two Canadian geese. Oh, there we go. Flying by. Oh, Cavalan 100, good morning to you. So, this is the plan. This is their crazy plan that they've got. We'll have a referendum. We'll do what we did back in 2016 will run this really, divisive campaign. Will just make out that it's really troublesome. We'll throw out a couple of slogans like sovereignty, or, they'll bring out the old classics of taking back control as well. And there is a real fear, I think, that the British public would vote for it, just like they did for Brexit, not really knowing, appreciating, or even fully understanding what that vote would actually mean, what the consequences of the vote would mean. This is what we're living with now. With a lot of our Brexit problems is straight up down to people just did not understand the consequences. They did not realise what they were voting for. This is why you've seen people change their minds. People realise that actually, membership of the EU was actually quite a good thing, and that it was probably wrong for us to vote for Brexit. And it gets even worse, because the trade and cooperation agreement that we signed, that was negotiated, and I want to point this out, negotiated by Lord Frost and Boris. The European Convention on Human Rights runs straight through it, and to use one quote we heard very recently about it, like a stick of rock. Now, you cannot escape, because the trade and cooperation agreement we signed with the EU basically says we will be in it and we will respect it. And it even has conditions, because there's three things. Here we go. Here we go. The truth is out there. This is where they've made the film that's made the thing, right? Ultimately very true. We're back. Excellent. Welcome back. This is unfortunately, I think, the aim of the right wing in this, that they want that referendum on this. And I worry that just like David Cameron was forced into a referendum on the European Convention on Human Rights, going into an election he thought, or at least he was sure, he would not have to deliver on, because he was sure that they would lose that general election. And then, well, he had to deliver on it. If not, well, according to the threats at the time the European Research Group were giving, they would walk across and just join UKIP. And then David Cameron would have to have contended with maybe of at least 13 UKIP MPs, former Conservative MPs, sitting in Parliament because they'd walked across the aisle, so to say, and joined UKIP. And that was the threat. But with Sunak so weak in his even weaker position, have they created the Human Rights Research Group yet? Probably not. So at this point, I don't think they would need to. Oh, there we go. Safely, there we go. And across. So that's the situation I think Sunak is getting boxed into. He's getting boxed into it just exactly the same way David Cameron has been boxed into it before. And the thing is, the danger is that Sunak will do this, or at least deploy this, potentially at the next election. Because as a lot of people have said, they're going to try and run the next general election on, the culture war issues and, because they can't run on their record. I mean, that's the best thing that Starmer really needs to do. He needs to sort of force them to run on their issues and just every time they call out some culture war nonsense, just go, well, they're having to fall back on that because, well, look at how bad their record is. And Starmer's just going to have to call them out and say, do you really want another 4 years of disastrous Tory rule? And the hope is if they run on this idea of, stop the boats, or we've got this referendum on the ECHR, the hope is that maybe it might save them. Maybe they don't lose, over 100 seats. And very recently there was a poll, another, survey came out showing what a potential general election might look like. And when you've got Labour as the number one party, and then the next party, the next biggest party in Parliament would be, the SNP, you can tell they've got some troubles. Oh. There we go. Oh, right, this might be difficult to get up. Oh, damn it. Oh well, gonna need to change my trousers when I get back. Oh, can we get up this? Is it just too slippy? I think it might be a bit too slippy today. Yeah, I'm not gonna risk it. I'm not gonna risk it. Back we go. Back the way we came. Oh well, never mind. We tried. We gave it a good go. We gave it the old college try. Oh, Cathergy, you better go do some work. Have a good weekend, all. Well, you have a good weekend too. And thank you very much for the super chat as well, Cathal. Thank you very much. Like I say, if you would like to support the channel and my ramblings out here in the wilderness of Yorkshire, do head down below. We've got links to the Patreon page. There's a pony club. There's the one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can buy me a coffee. You can give me a super chat, or you can just hit the like and share button. Like I say, thank you very much to everyone who does support the channel. But anyway, back on track. Wait. Yes, referendum. So that is what I think his goal, or at least the goal the right wing is, to say, well, we think we're going to be wiped out, but we're going to try at least and maybe deploy something that doesn't make us get fully wiped out, question mark. That, to be honest, I think is the goal of, well, the Tory right wing, to should we say, maybe maintain. The danger comes in, of course, is that just like David Cameron, if they win this next general election, well then they might have to deliver on that referendum, and that becomes deadly. Triangle. The truth will out one day. Really, the stream is just, I'm just, stopping the stream every so often so you can't see my lizard eyes when I need to blink. Instead of down, I blink sideways. Buffer, exactly. But I think we're back. Barnsley Triangle. Exactly. I had to just scuff the stream. Are we through? Have we defeated the Barnsley Triangle? Yeah, due to levelling up the Barnsley Triangle, will be a quad in 2035 when HS2 is working. Oh. You need to refresh. I look very like a cubist. So we're back. Pre-bird, excellent. We're back, excellent. Oh, like I say, please do remember to hit that like and share button if you haven't done so already. Like I say, we'll get the people back. Let them know we are through the triangle. We are back. Oh. Oh. So that is the first thing I really wanted to talk about, because I talked about it with I did a video for my pony club as we went very much in depth about that very topic of Sunak running, or at least being boxed into a point where he has to run a referendum on it, and that's, well, again, very dangerous. And like I say, I did a video just yesterday evening on the consequences, like the full consequences of what that means of us leaving. It basically means that if Sunak either leaves it, denounces it, or even partially denounces it, they can just terminate the trade and cooperation agreement, and the EU will do that, because there's a lot of people have been saying, look, we're trying to, at this moment in time, to reinforce all countries, follow the same international rules, and look at Russia with its illegal invasion. And yet here you are, UK, destroying all that, meant to insist numerous, these countries follow the rules of pariah. And of course, the hope is, at least some people, that Sunak is a lot more pragmatic than that. Oh, hang on, I've got some. Don't know if you can see them. There they are. A geese trying to fly in formation. Or at least they try. I survived the Barnsley Triangle. I should get that printed on a t-shirt. Oh, at least if we ever come up with a merch store, that is one of the slogans that we will get printed on. So we would very much become an international pariah if Sunak did any one of those three things. And yet, that's exactly, at least it seems to be, what this bill does. And to be honest, if I was a Labour MP, I would be going hard constantly constantly on the Tories that if you do this, you destroy the CCA that you proclaimed so much was an amazing deal and has constant references to the European Court of Human Rights, or the European Convention on Human Rights, shall we say, running throughout it. So yeah, if Sunak does it, we are in for a world of pain. But the worry is that he's just become so weak, and the Tories get so desperate about this that they forced him into doing it, and that's the worry. And you can see this, by the way. You can see Tory MPs trying to do this, trying to make this an issue. There was one MP who apparently, according to him, gets emails all the time about stopping these small boats. And yet his constituency is nowhere near over all the south coast. And yet, when you look at polls to say, what do the British voting public care about? It's about the cost of living crisis, it's about the heating crisis, the energy crisis, shall we say, the inflation, the economy. Those are their priorities. In every poll we see, what do you care about? What are your current issues? No one is talking about small boats. So whenever they bring this up as, oh, this is a massive issue, it's not. They're trying to make it one. And the thing is, we can't let them. Fox, good morning to you. Like I said, good morning everyone, and thank you very much for everyone for rejoining us after our little stroll through the triangle. Like I say, I just had to, I just had to change into my lizard form a bit. Chance of an election this year. Potentially, Tilly. I still am maintaining, I think there is going to be a general election this year. I would be shocked if we do not make it. Well, if we make it to the end of this year and there hasn't been one, I will be shocked. But then again, the Tories are sort of desperate not to have one. And as we've said before, gets a bit of a problem where Rishi Sunak is having rebellions. Because this is something else I wanted to talk about today. Because George Eustice, of all people, is leading a rebellion over the trade deals between Mexico, the UK, and Canada with the UK. Because this is going to add even more, or at least allow those countries to bring in even more low-cost meat into this country, because they have lower animal welfare standards than we do, especially in Mexico. In fact, Mexico's got none. And unfortunately, well, fortunately, shall we say, this rebellion seems to be pretty big. Because not only does Eustice have the backing of a lot of Conservatives by the sounds of it, he's got the backing of the National Farmers Union, who have come out in some very strong language. And bear in mind, this probably doesn't sound like strong language, but this coming from like the National Farmers Union is if you received a really strongly worded letter throwing a lot of very strong language at you. It was imagine if you've ever seen, you know, a Glaswegian angry, that's the type of thing we should be sort of referring it to, because that's how this really does come across. And particularly as they do not use this type of language, or at least they're very careful in their use of language. They said that the National Farmers Union will no longer stand it if the UK keeps on doing trade deals that undermine the livelihoods of UK farmers. Now that doesn't sound like very strong language, but that is that is some very, very strong language, especially from the National Farmers Union. So what they will do, who knows? Maybe this will start the form of protests. Certainly we could see things rising in the form of maybe the NUF start attacking openly the Conservative Party and backing certain, should we say, MPs over others because of their support for these types of things. So this has the potential to go the distance. It really does. Because a lot of people in the Conservative Party who live in these rural areas, who rely on farmers, especially for like their core votes, you know, their core voting block. We've talked about this before, about how in rural areas, it's farmers and people who work in that industry that very much are the voting Conservative. Oh yeah, that's a good point, yes. NFU, not NUF. That's a completely different union. That's a good point, Mithril. Yeah, sorry about that. So if they are going to do this, and it's what do they do? And how do they do it? And remember, this is something the Brexiteers will be hoisted completely, well and truly up by, because there were two things they made big promises of at the referendum. One is that the UK Parliament would finally might be able to get a say on trade deals. And certainly on the Australia trade deal and New Zealand one, Parliament did not get a say on that at all, which upset a great many people because that was one of their promises. The other big promise, and this was a big promise that they made, was that we would not lower our standards. And yet, this could be used as an excuse. These trade deals, well, now we're trading with, you know, Canada and Mexico. Well, maybe we've now got to lower our standards as well so that our farmers can compete. And that's not going to pass the mustard, because we in the UK care very, very much so for our animal welfare. So they're going to get a big backlash. And there is actually a grouping of Conservatives called the Conservatives for Animal Welfare. Believe it or not, they do exist. They have already come out and condemned not only the New Zealand trade deal, the Australia trade deal, but are also joining in this rebellion. And this is what they are afraid of at the moment, because this has the potential to be really big. If Sunak passes these trade deals, the National Farmers Union, or the National Union of Farmers, can't remember which way it is now. Damn it, Mithril, you've thrown me off. Yeah, the Farmers Union, we'll just call them that for the time being. The Farmers Union will kick off. They will probably respond. And maybe, as I said very recently, the smart money is that Jeremy Clarkson becomes a massive sort of spokesperson for farmers in the UK and their issues. Maybe they say, well, we're not going to fund you, we're not going to support you at all. Instead, we're going to call you out for your wrong government decisions, because they've been very, very passive. I admit it, I'm terrible. So they've been very, very passive. And like I say, them using the language of, if you do this, we will respond. For a union like that is very strong language. And those MPs with rural constituencies who rely on that farming vote are all of a sudden, very much so, all of a sudden, well, out comes a rebellion. And this is the worry that a lot of people are worried about in the Conservative Party that we've heard in the last sort of 24 hours or so. Because what have I been saying about Rishi Sunak? His entire premiership is being defined by rebellions, constant rebellions. And I always said I thought it would be just either one rebellion too many, or one rebellion manages to gain enough support and enough momentum and causes enough trouble. And at that point, well, what does Sunak do? Does he cave? Well, if he caves, all of a sudden, that's him now calling into question the trade deals that many of the right-wing economic libertarians care so much about. So that'll cause a massive trouble for him as well. And then this is where, as I've said before, you'll get a rebellion about a rebellion. And that's where Sunak comes into trouble. And if that happens, well, that's where we could see letters going in to the 1922 committee. That's where we see the big problems come. If those big problems come, well, how long can he hold on? How much support can he continue to garner? What can he continue to support on from other MPs? How many other MPs will make other issues crop up? We're already going to have a big battle, or at least maybe even quite a significant one, over the coming budget. So, who knows? Maybe, rather than Boris Johnson being the one to take Rishi Sunak down, maybe it was George Eustice, we'll be talking about in a year or two's time, who was the one who took down Rishi Sunak. So if I were you, I'd keep a very, very close eye. I'd keep a very, very close eye on what George Eustice is doing over the next coming couple of weeks or so. Because if he does that, well, it's going to be a very significant rebellion. And then we have to ask the question of, can Sunak survive this one? Or what will the consequences be if he caves into this rebellion? because there will always be a backlash with these rebellions. We always see it, because it's deemed to be, oh well, you've caved to this group of individuals, why won't you cave to our demands as well? And he always said it would be multiple rebellions, and just one rebellion would just push Rishi Sunak just that bit too far and not be able to survive, or make the even foolish decision to say, well, if you don't behave, I'm going to call a general election. And the thing is, as we've said, that threat only works once. And also, it's even more deadly because George Eustice might just go, okay, call a general election. And then Rishi Sunak gets put in a position of, well, I'm going to call a general election. or he doesn't call one, and he looks incredibly weak. So that is something we've got to watch out for. Where's the news about this story? I've done a video about it, although I don't know if it's out yet. It might be out later might be out this afternoon. Mithril. But trust me on this one. If you want to watch an MP the next coming couple of weeks or so, just to try and, see the warning signs of this potential brewing rebellion come to fruition, keep your eyes on George Eustice and see what he has to say about these upcoming Mexico and Canada trade deals. Because it looks like that not a lot of MPs can be very happy about them. That is definitely for sure. So, as always, thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolutely wonderful snow day, as you can see in the background. It's been I'm a bit tuckered out after that. Trudging through that snow. Oh, but yes, I hope you enjoy your own dear me. I hope you enjoy your own snow day. If you are snowed in this weekend, enjoy your weekend as best you can. As always, if you can't be safe, be sensible. As always, do remember to hit that like, share, and comment down below after the stream is ended, because it helps with the algorithmical stuff. And as always, we'll see you all next time. Until then, we'll see you all very soon.